Hey guys, how's it going? It's Michael, and I'm back with another video. And for this one, I wanted to talk about um, modern Western society, and kind of some of the problems that I think it's having in terms of how people, especially men, are feeling these days. There's a lot of loneliness these days. There's a lot of lack of connection. That kind of thing is really happening a lot these days in modern Western society. So even if you take a look at like current mental health issues, they're probably the highest that they've ever been um, since COVID, I guess. Maybe COVID was like the peak, but I'm pretty sure it hasn't really gotten much better these days. So this is exactly the kind of thing that I want to make a video about. Is there? I really do think there is a big problem going on in Western society with this kind of thing. Um, so I'm in Vietnam right now, and I feel like in Asia, people are more connected in a way. People seem, at least in an outward sense, more connected with, like, in public, there's more of like a community sense. And even at home, people are connected more with their families here. Families are very tight in Asia. Community is huge here. So I feel like they really don't have as big a problem as we do in the West with loneliness. Like it makes me think in America, a lot of people when they turn 18, they kind of leave the house, they get their own apartment, and they have to be independent. It's kind of the individualistic culture that we have in Western countries. And then you kind of have to fend for yourself when you're in that situation. Like you're gonna be living alone, you're gonna have to work and pay rent. Um, you won't have your family to be with you every day. Having your family around, it really helps with the loneliness problem. So, you know, who knows if it's really a bad thing for people to be living with their parents at such a later age, because at least they don't have to deal with as much loneliness. Um, so, I mean, like, isn't it kind of weird the times we live in? Um, if you're doing the right thing and not living with your parents, you're probably dealing a lot with loneliness. If you're living on your own, you're probably dealing with extremely high rent and low salary if you don't have the right job. Um, Things are changing so fast. Inflation, uh, AI. We just live in a crazy time, as I talked about in the previous video. So, I don't know. I feel like something needs to kind of resolve itself in Western cultures. Um, I don't know, man. It's strange. Like this could even happen in Asia. Like if you live on your own in Asia, you can deal with loneliness. Like for example, for me, whenever I live alone, even in Asia, loneliness can feel like a problem. I remember it was really bad when I lived in Japan. Loneliness was like a tough feeling. Maybe it was because of my age. I was in my early 20s and I wasn't used to the loneliness at that time. It was my first time living alone. So that was a huge struggle. Um in Vietnam, I didn't feel so lonely for some reason. Um Maybe it was where I lived. I lived in a huge kind of complex of buildings. It was called Vinhome Central Park. So there were like there were apartment buildings, there was a shopping mall and a huge park, all part of where I lived. So there was always people around. I never felt lonely in a sense, especially because of the way people are in public in Vietnam. They kind of, it's a collectivist culture, so everybody is kind of like looking at each other and making sure there's harmony, you know? So I never really felt lonely in Vietnam. China is kind of similar, collectivist culture, but it can feel kind of isolating as a foreigner in China because, you know, maybe I think this way because I don't speak Mandarin fluently, that they're kind of like talking about me. Maybe they are talking about me in China. I think they do that. They talk about you like out loud in China in public, and you don't know what they're saying, but you know they're talking about you. So it felt kind of isolating in China. But still, I didn't feel so lonely when I was in public, because at least even though they're talking about me, I felt like I was kind of being involved in something. So it's different from Japan. Japan, people are very polite, but it can feel very lonely in a sense, especially in Tokyo. Anyway, I'm rambling again, but yeah, I feel like the loneliness thing needs to be addressed. Like we need to have more communities in Western culture. Like community needs to be a part of everyone's life so they don't feel isolated and depressed. Everybody needs to feel like they're part of something. Everybody needs to feel that they have some kind of value that they can bring. You know, that's very important for people's mind, is to feel like they have something to give to a community, right? To feel important, to feel valued, you know. I mean, in Western culture these days, there's a whole problem with men. I feel like I'm sure you guys have heard this already. It's not any surprise, but being a man these days in Western cultures can feel kind of like a stigma almost. Like if you act in a masculine way, you might be looked at as toxic or something. So men these days are constantly being vigilant of how they act. They don't want to appear toxic, so they have to tone down their masculinity, right? But, you know, if that happens, you need to have some way to feel like you're still valuable, right? If the default message to men is that you're toxic, that's gonna cause a lot of mental health problems. So yeah, that needs to be addressed. It's not the same in Asia in that regard, by the way. I don't feel toxic when I'm being masculine in Asia, and they kind of value masculinity more here, and they respect it more compared to in the West, from what I remembered when I was living there. But anyway, I don't want this to sound like depressing or doom and gloom, because, you know, things are constantly changing. If you're feeling a certain way, other people are feeling it too. And we're all, well, you know, most people are good people and they're empathetic and they can understand you. So don't assume that people will be toxic towards you, basically. Especially these days, I feel like people are very open and they're all kind of, as I said in the last video, exhausted from this post-COVID era, and we all kind of just want to get past all of the struggles that we're having. We all kind of want to work together and just get over everything. So that would be my advice, is just assume the best of people without being naive, obviously. Assume the best of people and be your best self and keep going, because we will all make it as long as we don't give up. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you like these random talks that I have. I know they're kind of scattered sometimes, but I feel like this is a good way for me to make videos, is just to kind of talk about what's going on in my, like, I just feel like talking on the spot like this is the best way for me to make videos for now. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching and see you next time, guys. Peace.